You think you know the story of America. You think the bridges you cross, the roads you drive, the very foundations of this land are built on honesty, on fair recognition, on merit. You are wrong. In Robertson County, Texas, 1849, a bridge opened. A bridge so perfect in its arches, so flawless in its engineering that those who study it today whisper in awe. Yet no one knew its architect. The newspapers celebrated a wealthy plantation owner, Colonel Edmund Pierce, a man who never studied engineering, who never lifted a hammer in his life. They lauded his vision, praised his hands that had touched nothing but ledgers and money. But the truth was buried under centuries of soil and silence. The real builder was a man whose name appeared only in the margins of property lists. His value, $200, less than the cost of 3 horses. His body marked by forced labor, his mind holding secrets of mathematics, hydraulics, and construction that the world would not see for another 100 years. This was Isaac Brown, a man born into chains, yet destined to build what no free man of his time could conceive. Today, we pull back the veil. Today, we step into a story that was never meant for you to hear. A story that is dangerous because it exposes the machinery of erasure, the way genius can be stolen and hidden behind wealth, privilege, and violence. In the shadows of Robertson County, under the eyes of men who thought themselves gods, a black man calculated loads, traced water flow, and crafted arches so precise that the bridge defies time itself. And yet history pretends he never existed. Think about that. One man, invisible to the world, shaping its future while the world bowed to imposters. And this is only the beginning. Imagine being indispensable and invisible at the same time. That was Isaac Brown's reality. Every stone he placed, every calculation he made carried the weight of the future, yet every accolade, every ounce of recognition was siphoned away and claimed by another. Colonel Pierce shook hands with governors, collected state payments, gave speeches about American ingenuity, while Isaac Brown's hands bore the calluses of 2 decades of labor, his mind a vault of knowledge the world could not yet imagine. What is more terrifying than chains? The chains of erasure. To be necessary, yet never acknowledged. To build the impossible, and watch it celebrated as someone else's brilliance. This is the mechanism of power, the silent architecture of domination. Wealth, influence, and the arrogance of social hierarchy do not just take resources. They consume stories. They consume truth. And then they rewrite history to hide what they could not destroy. Isaac Brown lived inside this machine. Every day he navigated the brutality of plantation life, his meals meager, his quarters a narrow coffin of 6 by 8 feet, his body exhausted but his mind alive, calculating, imagining. He learned the rivers, the soil, the movement of water. He became a master of forces men like Pierce could barely comprehend. Yet even mastery offered no protection. His knowledge was dangerous, not because he intended harm, but because it was power. And power in the hands of the invisible threatens the comfortable illusion of control. This is the hidden lesson of history. The more the elite suppress the truth, the more dangerous that truth becomes. The bridge stands today as a silent witness, but how many of you have walked over it, unaware of the story beneath your feet? How many have crossed what genius built, never knowing the price it cost, never knowing the man erased to make it appear effortless? To understand Isaac Brown, you must feel the fear of invisibility, the horror of watching your own creations belong to someone else. This is not a story of abstract injustice. This is a story that speaks to the core of power, the way systems manipulate memory, the way genius is stolen from the world and buried beneath convenience and complacency. The bridge itself is a testament to a mind far beyond its time. Engineers today study it in hushed reverence, marveling at arches that balance weight with mathematical perfection, at channels that divert floodwaters with subtle grace. Every stone placed, every curve calculated, every hidden groove speaks of a mind that understood forces few men of the era could even name. Isaac Brown's genius was a threat because it exposed the incompetence of those who claimed power, and power fears exposure above all else. The plantation ledger may have listed him as property, a mere number in the census of labor, but the stones knew him. They remembered the care in his hands, the patience in his calculations, the way he spoke to the river and the earth and listened to their answers. Imagine carrying the blueprint of your own erasure, knowing that your creation would bear another man's name. How does a mind survive such injustice? Isaac learned to navigate invisibility. He understood the unspoken rules. Brilliance must remain hidden, obedience must be visible, dissent must be silent. And yet, even in silence, there is power. Even in erasure, there is witness. Today, as you hear this, remember, genius is not measured by acknowledgement, but by its ability to alter reality. Isaac altered reality. He shaped the rivers, he tamed the land, he built something that would outlast empires, yet his life was confined to shadows. And this is the cruel paradox of history. Those who create the most enduring legacies are often those history chooses to forget. It is a lesson not just in injustice, but in awareness. Look around you. Consider the structures, the rules, the systems we take for granted. How much of what you accept as truth is really the work of invisible minds, erased to maintain comfort and control? Isaac Brown's story is a warning. Not every genius is celebrated. Not every contribution is honored. Some truths are too dangerous to allow freedom. Some knowledge must be hidden, and those who possess it, if they are clever, if they survive, become shadows in a world that fears the light of their understanding. To understand what happened to Isaac Brown, you must see the world he was born into, not just the chains of slavery, but the architecture of power itself. Texas in the 1840s was a land of violent transformation, a place where empires collided, borders shifted, and law existed only when it benefited the wealthy. The republic had fallen into the hands of men with ambition, greed, and little conscience. Colonels, politicians, and planters moved as though the land itself were theirs to mold, claiming rivers, forests, and people as extensions of their will. Pierce was a master of this invisible game. He had no knowledge of engineering, yet he knew how to manipulate contracts, cultivate alliances, and present himself as indispensable to the state. The system rewarded those who could appear competent, not those who actually were. And Isaac Brown, a black man and a slave, was invisible to the very rules of recognition. He existed as labor, as property, a tool whose brilliance could be extracted and owned by another. Every calculation, every design he produced, every solution to a logistical problem became Pierce's currency in society. And society, hungry for symbols of progress and manifest destiny, accepted the lie. It was a perfect suppression. A bridge could stand for centuries as a monument to ingenuity, yet the mind behind it could remain a secret. History does this over and over again. It does not merely erase individuals, it erases patterns, systems of control, truths that threaten comfort. Knowledge in the hands of the invisible is dangerous because it exposes the machinery of power. And Isaac Brown had knowledge that shook the foundations of his world. Water management, structural precision, sustainable construction, skills that today would make him a celebrated engineer. Yet in his time, these abilities were criminal to possess as a slave. To be smart, to be capable, to possess solutions, these were crimes against the system that needed ignorance to survive. Remember this, the erasure of Isaac Brown is not an anomaly. It is the standard. History is written by those who benefit from erasure, and power is maintained by hiding the dangerous truths of the invisible. And this is why you must pay attention. Those who seem ordinary may hold knowledge that could upend entire systems. Those dismissed by society may carry the keys to its collapse. And every time you accept the story as it is told, you participate in the suppression of truth. Imagine the mind of a man forced to live in chains, yet incapable of being broken. Isaac Brown's body was property, his existence catalogued and constrained. His quarters measured 6 by 8 feet, his meals were meager, and every movement was controlled. But his mind was infinite. He thought in structures, in arches, in the flow of rivers. Every problem was a puzzle, every obstacle a challenge to be mastered silently. While the plantation celebrated mediocrity, he whispered to the stones, to the soil, to the water. He spoke in equations no one could read, in plans no one could steal without stealing his life. And make no mistake, what he knew was dangerous. Knowledge like that challenges authority, disrupts control, and illuminates truths the powerful would rather remain hidden. That bridge in Robertson County is more than stone and mortar. It is a monument to the invisible intellect, a reminder that history does not honor the creators it should. And now, as you hear this, I want you to do something. Type in the comments the phrase, "I see the hidden truth." Once, then again. Do it slowly. Let it sink in. This is not for the algorithm, though it will guide others to this awareness. This is for your mind, for the part of you that recognizes power disguised as invisibility, the part that knows the world is shaped by forces unseen and uncredited, because once you see the hidden truth, you cannot unsee it. You cannot return to ignorance. The walls of your comfort zone will crumble, and you will begin to perceive the subtle manipulations, the silent hierarchies, the invisible chains that control thought and action. Isaac Brown lived under such chains, yet he bent them without breaking, using intellect as a weapon, patience as armor, and silence as shield. Every bridge he built, every calculation he perfected, was a quiet rebellion. And now, in recognizing his story, you participate in that rebellion. You are becoming someone who no longer takes the surface of history at face value. You are beginning to feel the weight of what is hidden, and the exhilaration of knowing the dangerous truth. Genius, resilience, and knowledge are more powerful than chains, money, or recognition, but only if you dare to acknowledge them. Now, understand this. Isaac Brown's story is not just about a single man. It is about a system built to exploit, to conceal, to manipulate. The Republic of Texas, and later the state, thrived on appearances. Contracts were awarded not on merit, but on connections, influence, and the illusion of competence. Colonel Pierce had none of the skills, yet he mastered the theater of authority. He understood that recognition could be stolen, that the world applauds the face, not the mind behind it. And Isaac Brown, his genius was invisible, unmarketable, and therefore dangerous. Every calculation he made, every structural principle he applied, threatened the comfortable fiction of those who claimed power. The same system that allowed Pierce to profit, to shake hands with governors, to deliver speeches celebrating American ingenuity, demanded Isaac Brown remain silent, unseen, and uncredited. This is the true horror of history. It is a machine that consumes intellect in order to sustain illusions. The enslaved, the oppressed, the invisible, they are the unacknowledged architects of civilization. And yet, the machinery is subtle. The ledger, the newspaper, the ceremonial accolades, these are the instruments of psychological control. They tell you who matters and who does not, who is remembered and who is forgotten. They teach obedience by erasing the names of those who dared to surpass their imposed limits. Isaac Brown understood this instinctively. He knew that brilliance could be lethal if displayed too openly. So he mastered invisibility. He allowed the world to take credit while his mind expanded in secret, mapping waterways, calculating load distributions, creating solutions that would endure centuries. And now, as you hear this, consider your own world. How many invisible architects shape your reality? How many forces, unseen, dictate outcomes you assume are earned or deserved? The machinery of power relies on your ignorance. The bridge stands today, perfect in every detail, and yet the ledger calls it Pierce's. History repeats this pattern constantly. Talent suppressed, ingenuity stolen, truth hidden. You are being trained by default to accept this, but once you recognize it, you gain the ability to perceive the invisible, to understand who controls narratives, and to measure the true cost of every legacy. Isaac Brown's life is a warning. Systems favor those who perform illusions and punish those who embody reality. Genius comes at a price, but genius born in chains carries a cost that no ledger, no newspaper, no history book could ever calculate. Isaac Brown's body bore the scars of relentless labor, hands calloused, shoulders bent, skin etched by decades of toil, but it was his mind that carried the heaviest burden. Imagine knowing that your brilliance could transform the world, yet the world will never see it. Imagine building bridges that could outlast empires while every whisper of your name is erased, replaced by a wealthy man who had never studied the principles you mastered. That is a form of psychological warfare, a torment so subtle that it seeps into the soul. Yet Isaac endured. He found freedom in thought, sovereignty in calculation. Every bridge he designed, every water channel he engineered, was a silent declaration. I exist. I know. I build. And though the world pretends otherwise, truth cannot be destroyed. It only waits. The terror of invisibility is not in being unseen. It is in being misrepresented. To have your life's work stripped from your identity is a horror more precise than any physical lash, more enduring than any mark on the flesh. And it is not only historical injustice, it is a lesson for you. The systems you navigate today, the hierarchies that dictate attention, respect, and reward, operate on the same principle. Visibility can be manipulated, recognition can be stolen, power can be maintained by erasure. Isaac Brown's life teaches a brutal truth. The most dangerous force in any society is invisible genius, and those who possess it must either submit, conceal, or risk annihilation. Yet here is the paradox. In concealment, there is survival. In invisibility, there is freedom. Isaac harnessed that truth. He allowed the world to take the applause while his mind expanded, mapping rivers, calculating load-bearing arches, imagining solutions centuries ahead of his time. And now, as you sit here listening, consider your own genius. How much of your potential has been silenced, stolen, or ignored? What invisible work are you producing that the world refuses to acknowledge? Comment below, twice, the phrase, "I claim what is hidden." Let it anchor this awareness in your mind. Let it mark your recognition of the invisible architects around you and within you. Because awareness is the first act of rebellion, and knowledge withheld from the world can still illuminate your own destiny. The bridge Isaac Brown built does more than span a river. It spans time, morality, and the invisible chasm between recognition and erasure. Every stone, every arch, every channel that diverts floodwaters speaks of a mind that outpaced its era. Engineers today study it in silence, marveling at its precision, but none attach the truth to its creator. That is the cruel beauty of history. It preserves accomplishments while erasing the hands that made them possible. Consider the irony. Generations walk across this structure, unaware they tread upon the brilliance of a man the world refused to credit. The bridge is a monument to stolen genius, a silent testament to the power dynamics of its time, and a warning. Systems of power, whether in the 19th century or today, operate the same way. Those who hold influence cultivate narratives, control recognition, and ensure the invisible remain so. And yet, the work of Isaac Brown endures. The bridges, the roads, the principles he applied, they ripple forward, shaping engineering, design, and problem-solving, even when his name is absent. This is the paradox of suppressed knowledge. It survives, grows, and influences the world in ways even its erasers cannot predict. And it is here that the story becomes personal for you. You, listening now, are surrounded by systems that obscure, manipulate, and control. Your recognition, your visibility, your influence, they are often dictated by forces you cannot see. Yet, like Isaac, the power of your mind is independent of those systems. The ability to create, to understand, to build, even invisibly, is yours. The bridge teaches a lesson. What is suppressed does not vanish. It endures, waiting for acknowledgement. And history will eventually bend to truth, if not now, then later, if only someone remembers. Every structure, every system, every principle Isaac engineered whispers across centuries. Knowledge cannot be destroyed. Genius may be hidden, but it is immortal. And now, as you sit on the edge of understanding, ask yourself, which truths around you are invisible? Which creators, thinkers, and builders are erased while others take the applause? Reflect on that. Recognize it. Understand that even unseen, your work, your insight, your mastery can ripple through time in ways that no power can fully suppress. Now understand this. The theft of Isaac Brown's genius was no accident. It was deliberate. Every ledger entry, every newspaper article, every handshake and speech by Pierce was a layer of a system designed to hide truth and maintain control. Power does not fear mediocrity. It fears competence it cannot claim. And when competence is visible in the wrong hands, hands of the invisible, the oppressed, the unacknowledged, power reacts with erasure, with silence, with manipulation. Isaac's life demonstrates the cost of being too brilliant for the convenience of the ruling class. Every stone he placed in that bridge was a quiet act of rebellion, a coded message of defiance, yet history masked it with ceremonies for another man. This is how systems endure. They extract brilliance, commodify it, and credit only those whose social position reinforces hierarchy. Think about what that means for you today. Institutions, governments, corporations, and social structures operate on the same principle. They cultivate dependency, enforce invisibility, and manipulate recognition to maintain authority. And yet, genius survives in the shadows. Knowledge cannot be fully suppressed. The bridge, the calculations, the ingenuity, they are proof. History is a mirror. Those who appear to succeed effortlessly often do so on the backs of invisible minds, while those who create silently may never be rewarded, but they are never powerless. Isaac Brown's erasure is not just tragic, it is instructive. It shows that awareness, vigilance, and mastery of your own mind are the ultimate tools of resistance. Recognize the invisible forces shaping your life. Observe the structures built by those who were unseen, and honor the knowledge you possess that cannot be stolen. And remember the lesson of the bridge. What is hidden, when preserved, will endure beyond the reach of manipulation, beyond the applause of imposters, beyond the lies of the system. You must carry this awareness with you. You must see the mechanisms of control, the architects in the shadows, and the brilliance buried beneath layers of erasure. Because once you understand it, you can no longer participate blindly. You are awakened to the truth, and that awakening is dangerous for the powerful, for the system, for anyone who relies on ignorance to maintain authority. Isaac Brown did not live to see the full recognition his genius deserved. His name remained absent from history books, his hands gone, his story buried in the margins of memory. And yet, in every stone, in every arch, in every channel of that bridge, he endures. That is the terrifying, beautiful truth. Brilliance cannot be fully erased. Genius, once exercised, leaves a trace too precise, too perfect, too undeniable to vanish. His life teaches a lesson darker than any story of injustice. Systems will exploit you, steal from you, and attempt to erase you, but knowledge, skill, and awareness are weapons no ledger can confiscate. Consider your own life, the invisible work you perform, the thoughts, the plans, the creations that go unseen. That is where power truly resides, in the mind that understands, the hands that build, the persistence that refuses recognition. History is full of Isaacs. The world applauds the visible, celebrates the convenient, honors the compliant. But the unseen, the uncredited, the unacknowledged, these are the true architects of reality. And now, having walked this story, having seen what was hidden, ask yourself, what part of your mind, your skill, your understanding is being ignored or stolen? What invisible bridges are you building, silently, while the world praises imposters? Let Isaac Brown's life ignite something in you. Let it remind you that power, knowledge, and mastery are yours to wield, even if recognition never comes. Because the world does not decide your value, only you can. And if you remember nothing else, remember this. Brilliance can be buried, but it cannot be destroyed. Genius can be erased from history, but it endures in structures, in truths, in minds prepared to see it. Walk away from this story knowing that the invisible can change the world. Walk away knowing that recognition is fleeting, but mastery is eternal. And walk away with the awareness that what is hidden, if cultivated, protected, and understood, can transform not just a man, but the course of history itself. Isaac Brown remains not in fame, not in applause, but in eternity. And so too can you if you dare to claim what the world refuses to acknowledge.